What up, YouTube? How is everybody? This is another PrettyBoy Bat Rep, Brawler Bash Round 4, and I am playing Stefan Jensen. I love the mask that he brought. I have not played this guy before. He's from the Columbia Misfires, obviously, down in South Carolina. Good to see a few of these guys at Atomic Empire, and we'll get into this one. So he is playing Beast Herds, obviously, and you can kind of see most of where he deployed. On the left, he's got a unit of like lone mongrel raiders up on that hill, another unit of mongrels in the woods. He has a big unit of wild horns. Yeah, wild horns, and they have the banner that it's the one use that gives them +1 strength and AP. He's got gargoyles behind them. In the middle, he has the Minotaur rape train. He's got, I think, legitimately 10 Minotaurs. And then he's got a Minotaur chieftain and a Minotaur lord in there. So he's got 12 Minotaurs. So that's going to be a tough unit to deal with. Behind them, that dragon-looking thing is his Jabberwock. And this picture's a little blurry, I apologize, but on the other side he's got another unit of gargoyles, 3 raiding chariots, and then a unit of centaurs. In this game, my objective is to kill his most expensive unit, since really all of his points are in that Minotaur unit, so figured that would be my best bet. You can see my spiders have vanguarded up, and then on my side, I took advantage of the hill, put a giant and my wolf chariots up there. All the way to the right is Pac-Man. I have the scrap wagon way behind, feral orcs, iron orcs. You can see the bunker behind them, and then I've got my wyvern, my spiders in reserve, and my 2 giants on the left flank. So I'll kind of go back and give you my initial thoughts at deployment. My intention here is I want to slow his centaurs down because those are really the biggest things that can zone me. His chariots are only moving 7, mine are 9, and I'm on a hill, so I have rerolls to charges. I have witchcraft, I have the war cry, so my chariots are much faster. I'm not really worried about his chariots, but his centaurs can be a real pain, and I know how hard they hit, so I want to chaff them up best I can on that side. And then, whoops, wrong way. Then over here, I figured in the middle at some point I might need my spiders just to redirect those Minotaurs, because I definitely want to dictate the combat and get a multi-charge on them. I definitely don't want him coming into me. And then the 2 giants I put over here, he really doesn't have anything to threaten them. I don't care about the Mongol Raiders, and I need them to go into the Wild Horns. That's where they're going to do the most damage. And I got first turn. So, yeah, I believe I got first turn. Yes. So I just march everything up. The wyvern's coming around the building as well. You can see I'm kind of like conga lining my spiders a bit just to fit in there real snug. And yeah, I kind of move everything up. I edge up the chariots and the giant on the hill. And I conga line the spiders up there after they did their scout vanguard, and then I get the first turn march. They have chaffed up successfully his centaurs, his chariots, and his minotaurs, and because his Jabberwock is faced to the side, he cannot terror check me to get them out of the way, which is a beautiful thing. So I'm being very aggressive. It's Brawler Bash. This is what it's all about. I'm just trying to get some points and get some charges in. In Magic, I swear I gotta make cards for the next tournament. I get Deceptive Glamour off just because I get to add movement to something. Not a big deal. And then this is in his turn. I don't know why this picture's out of order, but he got +1 strength on these Wild Horns, which actually is really important. You'll see why shortly. But he's not afraid really at all. He charges the spiders in with the Minotaurs, and then he decides to overrun. And he just sends them forward. I think he's pretty used to the idea that nothing can really hurt them too badly. And he just marches his wild horns up. He moves the Jabberwocky over to protect his flank. He bails his wizard out of the Wild Horn unit, which is smart. So he's just going to sit back there. I don't have any ranged, so nothing I can do about it. The gargoyles sit in the back for some reason, and we'll talk more about this after the game. The chariots kind of stay central. The centaurs kind of stay where they are, and he moves up the other gargoyles just to kind of bait me a little bit. And on the left, he just repositions the mongrels. He chaffs the one giant up with a unit. And then it's my turn. And I call out a war cry, and literally I think my entire army charges with the exception of 2 units. So I put these dice out for the ease of your viewership to see where everything's going. On the top left, that giant is going to charge into the mongrels. They're chaffing the other one up to try to terror check them, which they do. They don't flee very far, but it does cause them to terror check. I fail my redirect, though, so he's chasing after them. The other giants charge into the flank of the Wild Horns. The Wyvern's going into the flank, and the Iron Orcs are going into the front. Now, I debated this heavily. Even though I would have multi-charges, I really was very frightened about going into those Minotaurs. But, hey, it's Brawler Bash. We got to get some points. I have magic this turn. This is really my best opportunity. So the Feral Orcs are going in, and then the Wolf Chariots are going to take out the other chariots, and the Giant is going to go into the flanks to help out the Feral Orcs. He's going to go into the flank of the Minotaurs, and then Pac-Man is going to take out the centaurs. He flies and he's large, so the gargoyles really don't bother him, and he'll just charge right over. So once that is all said and done, you can see the mongrels are caught. My giant catches them. Everything impacts into the Wild Horns. Everything impacts to the Minotaurs. My chariots make it into his chariots. And Pac-Man makes it into the centaurs. The scrap wagon's now coming up to threaten the gargoyles. And yeah, this is Brawler Bash, baby. This is turn 2, and everything's in combat. So just some maneuvering around. The goblins are moving up. Same with the chaff. Now in my magic phase, I start off with Bring the Pain, because while that spell is really good, the spell I really need to get off is Deceptive Glamour, because he is Agility 3 with the Minotaurs. I'll be Agility 3 on the charge with the Feral Orcs, but that means we're going simultaneously. So as killy as my guys are, his are more dangerous than mine, in my opinion, especially since he basically has built-in, he's going to have rerolls to hit. And he has 2 characters that are going to be striking first. So I wanted to do this to just bait some dice. And he tried to match me on dice. I rolled like a 9 or a 10. I think I rolled like a 10. And he matched me on dice just trying to roll, like, you know, roughly average. And he took that chance and he failed. So put him at a significant disadvantage for the rest of the magic phase. And not only do I get the boosted Deceptive Glamour off, so now not only am I striking first and I'm hitting him easier, but I also get the wheel turns off on him, so he has to hit me and wound me on 4s. This was just an awful, awful magic phase for him. So then we go into combat. Needless to say, my chariots, because I get the charge off with the impact hits, they don't do a ton of damage to him. I think I rolled pretty low, but it's enough to kill a chariot. He doesn't do enough back to me. He breaks. I pursue. I don't catch, but I go into his gargoyles, and we'll take out that chaff. You can see where Pac-Man is. There are no centaurs left. I killed a bunch of them. He couldn't do anything to me, and I pursued them and chased them down. Now, I made a mistake in the rest of these combats. I actually did the Wild Horn herd combat first, and man, did they kick my ass. He popped his banner, so he was already strength 4. Now he's strength 5, like AP 3, and he's going before me. He decimates my Iron Orcs, and look at that, into the flank. He does 6 wounds to my giant. Just ridiculous. Now the giant got really pissed off and killed a bunch of them in return, but like the giant basically did all the work. My Iron Orcs hardly did anything. he challenged my general with like his BSB, and my general did terribly. My general did 1 wound to him, and he did 1 wound to me, so that kind of washed out. So not good. Now the good thing though is that the Minotaurs, I killed all 10 of the Minotaurs before he could swing. His 2 characters participate in the combat, and then the Feral Orcs went nope and just completely ran over those Minotaurs with the giant. So the characters fled. I chose them to flee away from the giant, and hence the Feral Orcs smashed into the flank of the Wildhorns. Had I done that first, then I could have done the Wildhorn combat and probably crushed them. But as it stands, we're going to grind that out for another turn. But now everything should be okay. I'll probably just lose the Iron Orcs in the process. The giant up at the top, as you can see, kill... Oh, he was there anyway. I'm sorry. He caught the unit that was fleeing. The Wyvern ran away from combat because I actually lost this combat, the Wildhorns. I didn't lose by much, but the Wyvern said screw you guys and bailed out, which is kind of funny. So Beast herds, yeah, he's gotta try and do something. Now I don't know why this is a weird picture. I don't know if he decided not to charge. Oh no, he charged my Wyvern Lord and forced him to flee. And then he failed his redirect test. That's what it was, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, there goes the Wyvern fleeing further away. He's trying to get his shaman to get the heck out of dodge, but he's running out of places to hide, unfortunately. And so this turn my chariots kill his chariots, and he's just going to sit there and stare at the chariots. But he gets a magic off, so he does have scarification, which should help him a bit. And then in combat, pretty much the inevitable happens. The last wound is done to the giant. The Iron Orcs are killed off. He does another wound to my general, but I'm still kicking, and his BSB is still alive. But the Feral Orcs absolutely obliterate the unit. Now, we had a rules question, because I actually thought he was steadfast at this point. It looks like a field, but it's actually a forest. And you can't be steadfast in a forest, but he has Strider, so he could be steadfast. The problem is that forest doesn't take away your ability to count ranks for combat. If they did, then he would be steadfast, but all being in a woods does is that it takes away your steadfast. It doesn't take your ability to count ranks. So I still have more ranks than him. He is not steadfast. He loses by, well, a lot. And yeah, the Feral Orcs continue their murderous rampage and then pursue, catch them, and run to the Jabberwock. And then in my turn, the giant up at the top sandwiches the Jabberwock. And yeah, it's really all over but the crying at this point. My chariot charged into his shaman, and the scrap wagon is trying to chase his gargoyles. The spiders come around to protect my bunker, because he's trying to pick off, I think, like my BSB or my mage or something, and my Wyvern rallies. I get off some magic on the Feral Orcs. It's really not going to matter. Surprisingly, his wizard takes it on the chin. Just... Not only does he survive with 1 wound remaining, but he kills off one of the chariots and he holds them up. Over here, the Jabberwock never really stood much of a chance. He gets clobbered. And then in the final turns, his gargoyles charge into the spiders. We're curious to see who will win that fight. The chariots finally poke through the last wound on the shaman. It was difficult, but they got it done. And the gargoyles tear up some spiders. The spiders do some damage back. They stay. And then the scrap wagon comes in to finish the job. So, needless to say, quick battle report. This is an Orc and Goblin victory. I got max points, 6,000 points. He got 1,000 off me. MVPs. For the Beast Herds, definitely his Wildhorns. His Wildhorns really tore me up. I underestimated them greatly. And then for me, I think the Feral Orcs are clearly the MVPs. I mean, they went through the Minotaurs like they were nothing. They then went through the Wildhorns because they hit him in the flank, and then they killed the Jabberwocky. They were just ridiculous. But I think a very close runner-up is my Goblin Witch Doctor Twitch, because that whole massacre in the middle really wouldn't have been possible without my mage having just such a significant influence. And that magic phase, like, it nailed it put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, because that just blew up everything in the middle. I mean, even if I didn't get the spells off that I did, I think I still would have been in okay shape. But those Minotaurs are just so brutal. So that really helped. Anyway, enough about that. So, moving on to what we learned today. Be aggressive. Not only was this Brawler Bash, but it's also just the army I'm playing. Good things happen when I'm aggressive. There's really no reason for me to play this army timid. I learned my lesson in the one game in the previous tournament, and it had been a little while since I played, and I just played the other day, and I think I played a little timidly, and it came back to bite me in the butt. I gotta always play this to be aggressive, and it seems like the best outcomes happen when I do that, because your opponent just gets overwhelmed, and when they're overwhelmed, they're more likely to make mistakes, and they have to make tough choices. So, simple as that. Now, the chaff game, besides me being aggressive and me having a really good magic phase and using magic mushrooms to push spells through and stuff like that, ultimately, I think I was able to outmaneuver Stefan with chaff. Just being able to block up that many units and create that roadblock was huge. Now, Stefan and I talked after the game, and he realized after the fact that he should have, after charging the chaff, one, not overrun with the Minotaurs, but then two, he should have flew up the gargoyles to chaff me up. And that would have been a whole different ballgame. I would have had to make some tough choices then at that point. So I think that's just important to remember, is just the value of chaff and how you use it. Don't forget to use them. Have a plan in mind, because they're really critical in the early stages of the game, etc., etc. Anyway, that is that. We'll move on to round 5 next. But again, just want to put this out there. We are hosting our first tournament ever. It's called Dragon's Den. It's taking place the weekend of September 8th and 9th. It's going to be in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. It's a suburb outside of Philadelphia. All the information is on the 9th Age forums. You can go onto the website, just type in Dragon's Den. Mark, who is Sir MC 2015, he is our host. He's going to be the TO. The venue is great, by the way. Really nice guy. Andrew runs it. It's called Gamers Heaven. They have their own kitchen on site. They make some pretty good food, actually. BYOB. Plenty of places to stay and eat in the area. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments about that, just hit me up below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.